Are our voices going down?
They are.
What about
All right.
face recording?
So, here's what we're going to do. All right, we're going to look at our guided reading questions first. All right. The first one is, what's suggested by the fact that the author's note is set in italics? If you look at the very beginning of your book, go ahead and open it up, and you see like the first 4 or 5 pages are all in italics. And it does say author's note, but I gave you a little hint yesterday that it's not actually Jan Martin who's the author that is writing this. Who did I tell you this was?
Persona.
It's a persona, okay? It is not the author. Why do you think the author does this? What's the point? Anybody have an idea about why the author uses this persona?
To emphasize the value of identity.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. That very well could be. Did you notice that it's in italics? Okay. Why is where Pi starts talking on chapter 1 regular old print, and this is in italics? He does it again in chapter 2. What's the point? What is that to do? What do you do when you see that?
Maybe it's like his notes.
Age internal.
I can't hear you.
Age internal.
It's internal?
Maybe.
What's internal?
The talking.
Pi's talking or the author?
Yeah.
Yes? Yes is not a good answer. Yes to which one?
Both.
Both? Okay, that might very well be. What else?
So you know when not the author of the book, but like the author who's telling the story is talking?
All right, so you can tell the difference. It's that cut and dry, okay? So you can tell the difference between the 2 different speakers, okay? One is the narrator and one is definitely in a first-person narrative, okay? Because it says my and I, all right? The second one is an I, but it is the author's persona, okay? All right, so we are going to assume that the author is the persona in chapter in the author's note, right? Okay, all right. How do you know that it is Pi talking in chapter 1? Look at the very last page of the author's note. It says it's page 12 in the italics. Turn over to page 12. How do you know that chapter 1 is Pi? On page 12, it says X11. How do you know? The very top of that page.
This is it's in first person.
Does it say it's in first person? What does it say?
His voice and through his eyes.
It says, in his voice and through his eyes. If you look at the page before, it says, it seemed natural that Mr. Patel's story should be told mostly in the first person, in his voice and through his eyes. So you know we're going to move over to first person narrative. Right. Why is first person narrative really strong? Why is it strong when you're telling a tale?
Well, because you can like see the thoughts, like their emotions.
Okay. The thoughts and emotions of who?
The person telling it.
The person telling the story, okay? A story is much better in first person. It's just like when you have when you're watching the news and they go to interview somebody and they have an eyewitness that tells you about exactly what happened. That's much stronger than if they say it's been reported that, okay? Because you actually have someone is there. Okay, so in chapter 1, what's the deal with the sloth? Why was the sloth so important? He spent like pages telling you about the sloth. 2-toed sloth, 3-toed sloth. Why does he use the sloth? What does he tell you is important about the sloth?
It soothed him.
All right, it soothed him, okay? Its demeanor, it soothed him. What about the sloth would be very soothing for anybody to be watching? Slow moving, like 5 to 6 meters an hour. It's really slow. Have you guys seen a sloth before? No? It's very slow moving.
I had to clean one's cage before.
Ooh, that would not be good. Guess you didn't worry about it like attacking you or anything.
No, it was just chilling up there.
Okay. Very cool.
I was like,
All right. So what can you infer about Mr. Patel from his tone as he's talking in chapter 1? What can you infer about his personality?
Don't rush to answer, guys.
Is he smart?
Yes.
How do you know?
Went to college.
His
He's got
demeanor.
a zoology.
Yeah, he had a double major in zoology and religious studies. Okay, right. Seems to be very knowledgeable about animals too, right? Do you think he likes animals?
Probably.
Okay, probably admires them? Maybe so. All right. All right, there are some cities that you need to make sure that you write down, okay? One is Mecca, M-E-C-C-A. Why is Mecca going to be very important to him? Yes, sir.
Well, Mecca's the capital of the Islamic religion.
All right, Mecca is the capital of the Islam world. Okay. Very important. That's one of 3 religions that our pi is going to follow. It's going to be 3 different religions. All right, what about Varanasi? What about Varanasi? It's the capital of what religion?
Hinduism.
Hinduism. Right. And then we have the capital of Christianity and the Muslim world, which is
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. Exactly. Pi's 3 religions that he's going to follow in this book: Islam, Christianity, and Hinduism. Okay. All right, so if Pi has a degree in zoology and a degree in religious studies, what does this foreshadow in the book? What do you think this might foreshadow?
Religion and animals.
Religion and animals are going to be very prominent. Okay, good answer. All right. Okay, chapter 2. One more question out here. All right. What do you think the sloth symbolizes for Pi? It's a symbol. What do you think it symbolizes? Remember, symbol is a concrete item that stands for a greater ideal. What do you think it symbolizes? Because it has its own little habitat. It's very slow moving, very calm. What do you think it symbolizes for him?
His life.
His life? That could be. So far, has his life been pretty calm? Okay. But we know something's going to change, though, because there's a story, right? Yeah. Okay, so for now, what else might it symbolize for him? No ideas? No ideas? All right. Okay, well, we'll move on then. Okay, in chapter 2, why do you think the author interrupts the story? In chapter 2, with another, like, very short on page 7 and 8, with another, like, interruption by the narrator in italics. What's it for? What is this for? What does it tell, better yet, what does it tell you in the italics? What does it tell us?
It's like a description of a person.
What?
It's a description of a person.
It's a description of a person, right? Who do you think it is describing? It's describing Pi, supposedly when the persona of the author comes to interview him, right? He's gray, he's 40-ish. It's physical description, right? Okay. What do you call that when you have an author tells you exactly what somebody is like? What kind of characterization is that?
Oh.
Direct.
Direct characterization, exactly. So you might want to write down on chapter 2, it's direct characterization. We find out a little bit more about our character. All right, so chapter 3, what might the origin of Patel's name foreshadow?
It's water.
Water? Okay. What about water?
And he's good at swimming.
Good at swimming? Okay. And what else about it? I mean, all you gotta do is look at the cover of the book.
Water's a pretty big part of this.
Water's gonna be a big part of the story, right? Okay. Drive, and it comes from a swimming pool, all right? And he loves swimming, right? Spent pages telling us about swimming, okay? All right, what does the man tell him about the man that teaches him how to swim? It's on page, hold on. Trying to find it.
I think it's on page 10.
Page 10? Paris Games. Okay,
No, no, page.
now I'm looking for the quote that says, "I have a story for you. They'll make you believe in God."
Oh, isn't that another first note?
On chapter, here's that chapter 4. No, I underlined it. Oh well, we'll get to it. Okay, what distinction does Mr. Patel make between the ocean and the pool? What's the ocean like? What does he say the ocean is like?
Vast.
Vast? What else? This is a really terrific word. So it says CH. It says chaotic. It's like chaos. Chaos. So the ocean is vast, it's chaotic. Is it reliable? Is the ocean reliable?
No.
No, it changes a lot, right? That's the reason Miss Duffy doesn't go fishing with her husband very often. Yeah, it changes, the water changes real often, right? So what about the swimming pool? What about the water in the pool? Constant? Controlled, excellent. Constant controlled. Is it reliable?
Yes.
Yeah, it's always gonna be there, okay? Alrighty. Okay. Alright. What's significant about the name? We already did that. What did Piscine's father do for a living? He was a zookeeper, but he wasn't always a zookeeper, right? Okay. When did he become a zookeeper? Not like the date, but do you remember what was going on in India at the time? Mm-hmm.
Britain was about to leave.
Okay, and part of this was French India too, right? Okay, and so who was taking charge? Mrs. Gandhi, right? And so a lot of money was coming in, and so they were wanting to spend a lot of that money. So they opened a lot of new things, okay? New museums, new zoos, botanical gardens. So he got in at the zoo level just when it was starting, okay? It was near the botanical gardens, okay? Alright, just so you know, 'cause pretty soon we're gonna find out about the emergency, and we'll learn a little bit more about that. Okay. All right, so let me scooch over to chapter 4. Chapter 4 has a little bit of background information on page number 12. Okay, right. Father used to run a big hotel, so you're right on the money on that, okay? He ran a hotel. What does Piscine say about the transition from hotel owner to zookeeper? What did he say was about that transition? Yes,
It
ma'am?
was natural,
It was natural, why?
hold on, because, I don't know, it says in many ways training them seriously, hotel manager's worst nightmare or something.
Okay,
It's just
so
like-
how are they the same and how are they different? How is being a zookeeper the same as running a hotel? Use your brains. What do you think? How's it the same?
Well, a hotel is basically like giving shelter to people, while a zoo
Okay.
is giving shelter to animals.
All right, both give shelter. Okay, what else? How else are they the same? You clean up after people and you clean up after animals. Exactly. What else? How else are they the same?
Room service.
There is room service for the people and for the animals, right? Anything else that's the same?
They each have their own cage.
They each have their own space.
It's, yeah.
Right, their own territory, their own space. You wouldn't want to share your hotel room with everybody else, right? Okay. Anything else that's the same? All right. Number 2 says, how does Pi feel about growing up in a zoo? In terms of the Bildungsroman narrative, what might the zoo symbolize? Okay, that word there is a term for growing up, a story about growing up. All right. So, how does Pi feel about growing up in a zoo? He didn't really grow up in the zoo, but you know. Did you like it?
He loved it.
He loved it? Okay, what did he like about it?
Looking at the animals on the way to school, back from school.
All right, he loved looking at the animals. And what do you think that the zoo symbolizes for him? His home, a place to reflect. Think of a Bible story that the zoo might be essentially
Garden
like.
of Eden.
Garden of Eden, excellent. All right, so this is kind of like a Garden of Eden for him. Paradise on earth, exactly. Exactly, paradise on earth. So freedom, is it a priority for the animals? No, why not? What's their main priority? Survival?
Comfort.
Keeping everything the same.
Keeping everything the same, yeah, when things change, if you had a coiled up piece of rope or a coiled up hose, they didn't like that. How many of you guys have animals? Okay, so if you have something weird come into your house, like one of those Mylar balloons, do your animals kind of go, "Ooh, what is that?" the first time they saw one? Yeah, or if you have a new, something that makes a lot of noise, that's maybe not new, like my vacuum cleaner. One of my dogs goes absolutely crazy every time because it's something weird that's not out like every single minute of the day. What is the animal's top priority? What do you say is the animal's top priority? What? Food is definitely part of it. What else? Survival is part of it. What else?
Consistency.
Consistency, but there's one other thing.
Water. Love.
Territory. Territory, right? Space that is their own, okay? He spends a lot of time telling us about the territory. Why do you think he spends a lot of time telling us about how important space and territory is to an animal? Why do you think?
Be important for the book.
It's gonna be an important part of the book because we're gonna end up sharing space in a very small lifeboat. Okay, so he tells us a lot about how important territory is. What does he say that animals, the only reason that they would want to leave their zoo, there are a couple of reasons he says that the animals would want to leave their zoo.
If something scares them.
If something scares them, right? What else? Just talk it out. Not water. Not water. What were we just talking about? The last question.
If their territory is like broken up.
If their territory is broken up or if they don't have the space that they need, if someone invades their territory, they're going to fight back, aren't they? Or they're going to try to escape. And that makes perfectly good sense, doesn't it? If your animal has a lot of territory, it's going to be fine, but if someone else encroaches on its space, are they happy about it? Nope. Okay, so you would be the real village idiot to come into my house with 3 big dogs. You would invade their space, that's not a good thing. Okay, chances are my dogs would lick you to death, but they make a lot of noise and they're right there, right? They like their space, they like their space, okay? All right, so what comparison does the adult Pi make between the impulse to free animals and invading a person's home and freeing him? Why is this comparison significant? What does he say that no person with all the usual ties to family, friends, and society, what does he say? If you've got ties to family, friends, and society, are you going to leave? Why not? Because you want to be with them. Are you happy? Yeah, absolutely. Okay? How does that compare to the animals?
Oh, just like, during the zoo, so they're not with their family most of the time, locked up
Well, the zoo then is their family, right? When they wanna stay there, where everything's the same,
Oh, yeah.
they've got ties, they have space, they have food, they have room service, what's not to like, right? Okay, alright, there are certain illusions about freedom that plague zoo and religion. What's he say about that? About zoos and religion. Look on page 19. Here we go, it's at the very bottom, right? Excellent. I know zoos are no longer in people's good graces. Religion faces the same problem. Certain illusions about freedom plague them both. Okay? There are illusions about freedom. Okay? People think that the zoo animals would be happier if they're free, but actually they're pretty darn free. They've got things going on that they're happy about. Okay? All right, zoo and religion. All right, chapter 5. You should in your book somewhere right near chapter 5. This is where Pi gets his new name. Okay? And he has, what do we call it when somebody has a new beginning? What's that called in literature? Rebirth. Yes, he has a rebirth with a brand new name. And he gives it to himself, right? After other people have given him a not so nice derogatory name, and he's not a happy camper, right? So if you look on page 23, it has its name, and then it has the symbol for pi with a brand new beginning, okay? All right, why is this important to him? Why is it important he has a brand new beginning, huh?
Like rebirth,
All right, he has a rebirth. Why is this rebirth important to him?
so he can like move forward.
All right, so he can move forward, and now he's moved to a different school, and it's the same school as his brother's in, right? And how many of you all have older brothers and sisters? Okay. Following along behind them is hell, right? It's awful because they're like there and you're not gonna be, or you're compared to them. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not. So he's gonna try to make himself stand out a little bit, right? So not only is he getting rid of his old crummy name, he has now a new name and a new persona that goes with it, okay? It's gonna be a little bit more outstanding. Again, look at chapter 6, okay, on page 24. You have the italics again, and we're back to the narrator, okay? And he tells us that we're in India on the top of 24, excuse me, on top of 25. And the very last sentence says, I noticed something else. His cupboards are jam-packed. Behind every door, on every shelf, stand mountains of neatly stacked cans and packages, a reserve of food to last the siege of Leningrad. Why would Pi have this food? Why would he be saving up all this food? Any ideas? Alright, so think back of Mice and Men last year. Remember that was about during the Great Depression, okay? Remember, people didn't have anything. A lot of y'all did a nice project on the Great Depression, right? Okay, and things were scarce, right? Okay, you guys are too young to have grandparents that lived during the Great Depression. My grandparents lived during the Great Depression. My mom and dad were born after that, but still, my grandparents lived during that time, and they're all dead now. But what did you learn about the Great Depression? What did you learn? What do you remember from last year about the Great Depression? Do you remember anything?
A lot of people didn't trust each other, like they traveled alone.
They didn't trust each other?
Yeah, like they traveled alone.
Okay, the migrant workers traveled alone, absolutely. Right, what else, Riley?
Hard to make money.
It was hard to make money. There was not a lot of money, so there was not a lot of other stuff, right? Was it easy to find money to buy food? No, food was rationed. A lot of times you can only buy so much, right? So when you have a scarcity of something, it's very valuable to you, right? So do you all have any grandparents or great-grandparents alive who save every last thing because we might need it later? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so that comes from living a life of scarcity, or sometimes living even a life of poverty where you just don't know where your next meal is gonna come from. So what does this tell you about Pi, that he has this reserve of food to last the siege of Leningrad?
He's very smart. Well, he's thinking ahead.
He's thinking ahead, why? Why is he saving up all this food? What has maybe occurred in his past?
Couldn't eat for a while.
Perhaps he has not had enough to eat for a while, and so he values that, having that store of food. Excellent answer. Make sure you all write that down. That's very important. Okay? What do you call that when we have an idea, when we have a clue from the author? Author has given us a clue about what's going to happen. Foreshadowing, yes indeed. Okay. All right. In chapter 7, we meet Mr. Kumar, who says God doesn't exist. All right? So we have the difference between atheists and agnostics. Okay? What's the difference? Anybody know what the difference? Megan, your hand's up.
Atheists don't believe in God, and agnostics just don't really know. They're kind of clueless. Like, they don't know if there's a God or not.
Okay. Which one of the two groups of people ask more questions about the existence? I'm just asking.
Agnostics.
Agnostics are the ones that question? All right, so Mr. Kumar says that God doesn't exist. He's an atheist, okay? He's an atheist. He doesn't question it. What does he rely on?
Science.
Science. Excellent. He relies on science, okay? All right. So why does Mr. Kumar love the zoo? Why does he love the zoo so much? Why does he love the zoo?
Because he believed that everything was order, and he always left the zoo feeling scientifically refreshed.
Exactly. He always left it refreshed because everything seemed to be in the natural order of things, right? This is what tigers do, this is what goats do, and everything seemed to match for him, okay? All right. What does the zoo represent for him? What's the zoo, if everything has some kind of order and everything matches and animals do what they need to do, what does that zoo represent for him? What does he say the zoo is just like? If he's an atheist and he says, I believe that the world is ordered by logic and reason and animals do what they need to do, what does the zoo mirror for him?
His world.
Yeah, the world, exactly. It's just like the world. It's just like the world should be. Everything has its place, right? Okay, all right. And why does Mr. Kumar not believe in God? What happened in his past? What happened in his past? It's on page 28. First full paragraph that says, this was all a bit much for me. Uh-huh.
He got polio, and he asked, where is God? He said he didn't get better because God got better because of medicine.
Exactly. He asked, where is God in all of this? It says, what if his words had the effect of polio on me? What a terrible disease that must be if it could kill God in a man. So what does Mr. Kumar says saved him? If God didn't save him, what saved him?
Medicine.
Medical science. Yep. Right, we are moving slightly along. Hang on 1 second. Okay, my other question here. All right. Okay, why does Pi feel that atheists have faith? They have faith in something.
Not believing in God.
That's right, they have faith in science, they have faith in something. They're at least questioning science and believing in something. Why doesn't he like the agnostics?
is they don't have any faith. Well, they don't have a lot of faith.
They don't live by it.
They don't have any faith in anything, do they? And he just doesn't like that. He just doesn't understand how you cannot have faith in at least something.
Yes.
Okay? To choose doubt as a philosophy of life is akin to choosing immobility as a means of transportation. That would be the agnostics for him. Okay. Why is man the most dangerous animal at the zoo? What happens at the zoo because of man? Carries weapons, what else?
Like, they feed the animals.
They feed the animals stupid things, right? Everything from broken bottles to tainted meat to hurting the animals. They're the most dangerous animal at the zoo. They're cruel. Okay. Bless you. If you look on page 31, there's a word that is italicized. It says, "But I learned at my expense that Father believed there was another animal even more dangerous than us, and one that was extremely common too, found in every continent, in every habitat, the redoubtable species, Animalis anthropomorphicus, the animal as seen through human eyes." What's the problem with this? What happens when you have an animal and you anthropomorphize an animal? What does that mean? Did anybody look that up? Okay, so let me give you another word that goes with it, personification. What happens when you personify an animal? What are you giving it? You're giving it human characteristics. Is that like accurate? Can we do that? Why is it dangerous to do that? Why is it dangerous to give an animal human characteristics? Yep.
You can make it seem more dangerous and harmful than it really is by giving it like bad characteristics.
Okay. If you have, so you could actually make it seem more dangerous. How about on the flip side?
Too scared.
Hmm?
Scared.
We're too scared of them? What happens though if you flip it on the other side and you make them seem very cuddly?
They think we're trying to do something to them, so they hurt us.
Okay, so now you're personifying the animal. So what happens if you say, "Oh, look, isn't that sloth adorable? Oh, look, he's just he's waiting for us to come in there and pet him," right? We're personifying him, but what are you personifying? What kind of animal?
Sloth.
A sloth, it's a wild animal. Can you say that the sloth is actually wanting for us to come in there and pick him up and cuddle with him? No, that would probably be a dangerous thing, right? If you give wild animals human characteristics, then you're not going to identify the wildness in them. I mean, think about that. The tiger that ate the goat in the last chapters, right? If you had said that tiger, oh, he's hungry, maybe we'll just we'll get him something to eat and then he'll be fine and we can go in there and pet him because look, he really wants to be petted. He really wants to be loved up on. Is that smart thinking?
No.
You don't want to give a wild animal personal characteristics. And Pi tells you that right in here. The obsession with putting ourselves at the center of everything is the bane not only of theologians but zoologists. I learned the lesson, an animal is an animal. It's on page 31. Essentially and practically removed from us. Okay? And he found that out with Richard Parker, and then he also found that out with the tiger. Okay? Flip over to page 39. All right, so the second sentence says, the key aim is to diminish an animal's flight distance. All right, so what does that mean? What's a flight distance? It has to do with territory.
So the time, like, it has to do with like protection and stuff.
Okay, it does have to do with protection. What else?
It's like how close you get to an animal, like if you get 50 meters from like an animal, it's like how close you can get without them fighting.
Okay. Have you guys all done that before? Seen a bird or seen some kind of animal and you want to go up to it, but you know you can only get so far before it's going to run off? Okay? We've done that. I've done that before with, I can't remember what it was. I think it was a seagull. I don't know. Anyhow, it was in our neighborhood. It was some kind of bird. But anyhow, it was like dragging its wing, so we're trying to get close enough to this bird so we can see if it's actually dragging its wing without it like flying away. So you have to find that sweet spot, right? We've all done that, try to get close enough. If you're a hunter, you try to get close enough before it bolts, okay? If you are, somebody who likes to go out and rescue wild animals, or you just like to go out there and watch those crazy squirrels jump from tree to tree, you can get pretty close to them before they run away, okay? That's the distance that Pi is talking about in chapter 9, that the animal's flight distance, okay? All right, chapters 11 through 20 by Monday, all right? We're gonna finish up, and if you have any questions over the weekend, please, send me an email, okay? I will not be here this afternoon after school. I gotta go take the dog to the cancer doctor. I know what I can do about the dog. Ducky? Alrighty, see you later, alligators. Let me do this. And